episode of the Intentional Iron podcast. Today, I'm joined by someone I've followed on Instagram for a little bit now, Matt Gozdecki. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Gozdecki. It's very
Gozdecki.
phonetically the same, but like it trips people up a lot.
Yeah, I got you, bro. So, just getting into a little bit of your background and stuff. I'm sure a few of my followers know who you are and follow you on Instagram, but just give the people a little bit of your background, a little bit of your upbringing, what got you into bodybuilding, my man.
Sure. And to start this, dude, like as we scheduled this, I was like, dude, this is gonna be fun. And then like I started reading through the questions and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting nervous. Like, Matt, calm down. Like you're gonna be fine.
Nah, bro.
But
No, this is no, you're good.
I appreciate you having me on first and
Hmm.
foremost as well too. I've
Of
never been
course, I
asked
appreciate making the time.
before, so it's pretty cool for me. But
Hmm.
so I guess kind of the start for me, I got into bodybuilding at a very early age. So I'll try to condense it down. But when I was like in middle school, I played a lot of sports and I wasn't particularly good at any of them. And I wanted something that like I could be good at because all my friends were like tall and athletic and they were good at football and this and that. I was like, man, I want to be good at something too. And I ended up starting personal training for like athletics to get like a little bit stronger and faster in that time period. My parents even sat me down because the personal trainer I had was an old little league coach of mine. I did really like baseball, and they were like, Matt, you're going to be going. He's going to help with like your speed, your strength, your agility. You basically run the bases like a turtle. So like we need you to be a little more athletic here. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And he ended up introducing me into the weight room, and I found through like playing all those sports and not being very good at them, I really enjoyed the training aspect of it. And being in the weight room, I found that to be really fulfilling, but I didn't really enjoy the sports all that much. And in a very cliche way, I'm showing my age as well. I picked up a magazine when I was 14, and it had this iconic picture of Jay Cutler at the 2009 Olympia, I want to say, when he won it back, hitting the quad stomp pose, if you've ever seen that. And like I
Yeah.
read through that like cover to cover basically, and I was like, this is it, this is what I'm going to do. And I ended up doing my first show at 16 years old about 2 years later. And I had like a little bit of a break in between like ages 17 to 20 when I was like going to college and everything, but ever since then I've basically been competing like pretty regularly since. So it's been around 13 years now because 2013 would have been the first show.
That's awesome, dude. I love the sports to bodybuilding pipeline that like every good athlete has. Like every good bodybuilder that I've talked to always has like the I played sports or they played sports. They either sucked or were really good, like collegiate level, and then it just like led to bodybuilding. So I always love hearing that story. Where'd you go to college for?
So I went to college for the first year I went to a small school like a little west of Indianapolis where I'm from, and it was a liberal arts college. So I picked econ because that was the closest thing I could think for business. And I ended up actually transferring out of there and I went to Butler University, which is in Indianapolis, for the rest of my 3 years. And I started at finance and I got a D in business calculus. And I was like, man, I don't think this is for me. And like
Hmm.
I actually went to office hours and everything, but I finished out as a marketing major, which like I always joked around was like the bro major of the business
Yeah.
school. Like, that's what the
Right.
bros
Yeah.
that's what the bros picked. So I have
Gotcha.
a
Yeah.
bachelor's degree in marketing from Butler.
Nice. That's awesome. I went through your profile, so I went to Butler. I just thought I'd ask. So with you're a full time coach, correct?
Yeah, so I'm an online coach and a personal
Yeah.
trainer. That is my
Uh,
full-time job.
awesome. Yeah. So with not really having like I was expecting maybe you had some sort of like coaching adjacent degree from college. So who are some of your early like mentors or inspiration or coaches, and who are some guys that you think that some of the newer people coming into the sport should listen to? Because there's so much information nowadays on Instagram and TikTok and whatever that and I know are just bullshit. And there are certain people that you should listen to. So, who are some of those people that you think people should really listen to when it comes to like bodybuilding information, as far as training, nutrition, PEDs, and all that goes?
When I first got like started and started really getting serious into bodybuilding, I listened to a lot of Dave Palumbo and Chris Aceto because they've got RX Muscle. And I say back in the day like I'm some old timer, but like in 2016, 17, 18, RX Muscle was relatively big in like the bodybuilding scene, at least the one that like I was kind of a part of. And they would hold like Q&As on YouTube's, or they would have podcasts and they would just talk about bodybuilding before podcasting really became like a really popular thing. I would say closer to like 2020-ish, maybe a little earlier then. And as I got older and I started getting into bodybuilding more, I transitioned away and I've been a member of the Trained by JP website, the old Jordan Peterson
Yes.
over in the UK,
Yeah.
or Jordan Peters, not Jordan Peterson. My apologies. And I listened to yes, real close names there. And I
Yeah.
listened to him, and I really like Kuba Saline. I really enjoyed both of their training philosophies, and they were all part of
Hmm.
that site at the time too.
Yeah.
And I also then started transitioning more to like J3U and John Jewett. And I've
Right.
taken the whole J3U course, which I thought was fantastic. I had more fun taking those or like listening to those lectures than I did in almost any course in college. But
Right.
that would be my go-to is John Jewett and Akuba Saline type more a little bit more science based, but they still have like certain aspects that might be a little bit more bro. I think it's a
Hmm.
fine balance between the two, but those are the ones that I really enjoy listening to and kind of taking
Hmm.
cues from.
There's like a really good skill I think a lot of bodybuilders get into the sport should learn, and it's like learning how to decipher like really like good information from bullshit information, because there's so much like clickbaity stuff on Instagram you see where people will make super bold claims, and then you look at people that are like the Kubas. Like I really like Kuba's like training like
Hmm.
videos and stuff like that. He's very like Jordan Peters esque when it comes to training. He's very like accurate and whatever. And I think that a lot of guys would benefit from just like sitting down and like really like I make this reference on this podcast a lot is like I in my brain like what I do, you know, like TSA at an airport, you
Hmm.
kind of have to treat all sorts of information that you see on Instagram and all that kind of shit for bodybuilding with like TSA before it gets to your brain, and stop letting like every little thing get to your brain and like maybe I should make that change to my plan, maybe I should do this, when it's like just kind of like being able to decipher information a little bit better, because there's so much out there. But getting a little bit back to you, what current phase are you in? Are you in like an off season, a health phase? Are you getting into prep soon? What does bodybuilding look like for Matt right now?
Yeah, so I just finished up around an 18-week push phase where I would say I probably put on around like 15, 17-ish kind of pounds. I've dropped
Hell
down a
yeah.
little bit now, so I'm holding like probably 13 pounds above where I restarted. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel as if it was one of my more efficient like growth push phases. And I feel as if I'm
Mm-hmm.
still holding a relatively good body composition. So we are now entering like into a health phase down to like TRT dosages and trying to make sure that everything gets a little bit of a break and then get blood work. So we've lowered training volume down a little bit. We've lowered food volume down a little bit, which has been nice.
Yeah.
And for the next, I believe for the next probably like 3 to 5 more weeks, I'm only training like 4 days a week currently, and then that volume will bump back up. I will say we plan to do one more push this year to end out the year, and then the goal is to probably start prep around that New Year-ish time. And we have a tentative plan of doing a Junior USA's in Charleston, South Carolina, which is I believe it's usually in the June-ish time. If I'm either it's either Mayish or June-ish. I can't remember exactly. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
more on top of that one, but I'll have to
Gotcha.
qualify too. So some a show around like that May June.
Mm-hmm. What was like a big difference? Was there any big difference in this last push phase that was, do you think, like helped you make the progress you did? And if you want to disclose any kind of like detail about your cycle, your diet, or anything like that, you can go ahead and do it as well.
Sure. I mean, I to preface as well, I ended up switching coaches back in October, the end of October of 25, and I was about 6 to 7 weeks out. It wasn't the most ideal situation, but I really enjoy the coach that I'm with now, and he's done a phenomenal job training, like programming my training as well. And I will say, I believe the biggest difference for me was I tracked every single workout and tried to progress as much as I could, like within reason, of course, not just like
Yeah.
to screw up form just to get the numbers. But
Yes.
I've got like a little pink notebook that I wrote all my workouts and numbers down from like day one all the way to the end of that push. And I also did send my top set videos of my major leg movements to my coach every Monday because my legs have been my biggest weakness, to be honest, when it comes to getting on stage, unfortunately. I won't say they're bad, but my shoulders are just too broad, is what I'm going to say. I've got like a really long femur, and it's just been a struggle for me to fill out. But
Yeah.
I've found that like within this push and this switch over to coaches, I've really found a bit of a groove with my leg training, and I do feel like they've improved a fair bit. So and it wasn't, and I can be honest about like I don't believe that my cycle was anything crazy or anything that I didn't do before, really. So I really think it did come down to the training and the actual tracking of that training performance, and then
Yeah.
also as well as the videos, and then priorly, I don't think priorly is a word. Prior, in my other pushes with my other coaches,
Yeah.
they've just basically pushed my food up so high to the point where like I get nauseous and I get sick. Like I've
Damn.
had prior off seasons where I have dry heaving fits just because like I'm so nauseous, and I would know in my head,
Jeez.
I'm like, this really, I understand like pushing food, but this really doesn't feel right. And with this last push, I was hungry for all of my meals, and we stayed leaner doing so. My calories may not have been as high, but as like they have been in the past, where I was like literally getting nauseous, but I found it was is a perfect amount of food to fuel me and keep my body composition in a good place to continue to like be hungry and have good
Mhm.
digestion.
Yeah, you're probably like they say, like you're utilizing the food more so you can eat less. You know, like
Yeah.
I think Meadows said it or something like that. You are what you digest, not just what you eat. And you're probably at a point with those other coaches where I could probably see like your mentality where it's like you didn't want to fight back, you didn't want to like argue. Like I know we need to push food, and you just didn't want to like fight back. Whatever. So I get that, and that's something that I really enjoy with like your content and the way I could tell that you approach bodybuilding is that you are very like what's the word I'm looking for? Very nailed. Yo, what is up, beautiful human who is watching the podcast? First of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. It means more to me than you guys know. But I recently checked my YouTube analytics, and 89% of you guys that are watching are not subscribed. So if you could do me one little favor, take some time out of your day and please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell, do all those cool things, and that will mean more to me than you guys know and will help me build this channel so I can bring on greater guests, keep giving you guys information and all that good stuff as well. Second thing is this channel is not sponsored, so I do not make money from these videos, but one way that you can support me is by using my affiliate codes. Right now I've got 3 affiliate codes. One is going to be with Nutrix Supplements. I've used all their products for about 2 or 3 years now. Their protein is very good. They have a vast variety of EAA flavors and all that kind of stuff as well. I have a code with Biomiss Labs. This is my little bottle of SLU for all your peptide needs. It'll be code Maddox over there, just like my name, MADDOX. And then I have another sponsor now with Flavor Gang. Flavor Gang has some of the craziest flavors when it comes to like cream of rice flavors, when it comes to 0-calorie sauces. It is some of the craziest tasting things. It tastes like you are cheating on your diet all the time, which is crazy. So that'll be code Maddox over there, just like my name, MADDOX. And if you guys can please use my codes over there to support me in my journey of whatever this is, that would mean more to me than you guys know. But with all that being said, let's get back to the podcast. Goes on with your training, because I do think that from everyone I've talked to, yourself included, it's just like the all of the good sources of information, like people that I consider like role models. It always comes back to the training. It always comes back to the execution, the intensity and all that kind of stuff. And people from the outside looking in think it's like the crazy cycles and it's the nutrition, when it's like it really comes down to the training. And I think that when you get into the sport for the training, you find joy in the fact that this is going to be like the main driver of progress. When you get into it and you actually track your lifts. And that's one thing that I wish so many more guys that like have coaches would take advantage of, that I think more coaches want their athletes to take advantage of, is send them videos of your top sets. It doesn't have to be like videos of your calf raise and your like all of the nuance, because I think I did that for a little bit. Like I think I needed a video every single lift from like my, I would consider like like your calf raising and maybe even like your adduct or like a leg day, kind of more like warm up stuff. Like it's not really that crazy important, but then like your main movers, send those top sets to your coach so they like with good angles so they can see how you're doing it correctly, because the training is everything. So with yourself, how do you do that with clients? Do you do the same thing for, I'm sure you do the same thing for your clients, like you get training videos from them weekly as well?
So typically, if they're like if they have an area where they really need to bring up, then I do enjoy like getting training videos from them. If they're more, it depends as well. Like if they're a lifestyle client and they're seeing good results, then
Yeah.
and they're a little bit more laid back, and we like do a macro plan. I don't
Yeah.
like say it's like a necessity to send training videos, especially with when you are dealing with more Gen Pop clients. They might not feel totally comfortable recording
Yeah.
themselves. But
Right.
if it's a serious competitor or someone that has like a weakness that needs to be brought up, like yeah, I enjoy having them send me training videos. And I honestly think sometimes I've been a little bit harsh on my critiques sometimes when I'm like, hey man, like I've told you how many times that you need to lower the weight and not just like move weight from point A to point B. But yeah, I
That's
think that's very
such a good point. That's such a good
I,
point.
Yeah, and I think it's very important as well. And like I typically like to always make training plans too. Like just because I know I'll get some Gen Pop clients that be like, "Oh, I know how to train." I'm like, "Do you know how to train? I don't
Yeah,
know about if you
yeah,
didn't if you needed my help, or if you didn't need or if you did need my help, you probably would know how to train, right?"
right,
So
yeah.
I do like to have control of the training in that aspect as well.
Yeah, I think for anyone that's taking bodybuilding seriously, like I know a lot of people be like, "Well, I don't want to video my training because it takes away my focus." I think if you're able to get that out of your groove from taking one top set of a video, you don't have like a strong mind. Because like for me, for example, like not trying to toot my own dick or anything, but like, being able to set my phone up, video a top set, and then take my phone down and then go back to what I'm doing, it's not that difficult. I think when guys bitch and complain like, oh, it just takes away from my focus. I just want to train. It's like it's not that hard to like flip a switch. You know,
Hmm.
go from A to B and just move on. You know, and especially like if you're doing like a hack squat or a leg press, it's like 2 or 3 sets. So it's like, and don't you don't have to video all 3 sets. It's just video your top set. It's one set. If you do like a hack squat or leg press, it's 2 videos. Like just fucking move on. But when it comes to training, you have like I look at training as like there's certain like a not a hierarchy, but like there's certain metrics. Like oh shit, you have like your execution, your intensity, and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to training, what do you think is like not that there's anything that's more important than the other, but what do you try and hone in on yourself first? Is it the intensity? Is it the execution? Like what is it?
I would say execution first because I'm very form first. Like, I don't believe that there's ever a set rep or workout that's worth an injury. Like, you can always live to fight another day. Now, at that
Mm-hmm.
same token, if you live by the sword, you got to be willing to die by the sword. If you're doing a heavy set and on like leg press or a hack squat, like something could potentially go, especially the older you get and especially the stronger you get. So, in
Mm-hmm.
like the injuries are part of the sport, in my opinion, but I would like to master execution of whatever movement I'm doing first. Once I feel comfortable with that, then it goes to more of like an intensity or effort situation, which are a little bit vague terms. But like if you are leaving the gym feeling like you've done everything you possibly could and to like match those numbers you did the week prior and you
Mm-hmm.
just failed or had nothing left, then I think those are like my main two is like the perfect form and then also you're giving it your very best effort. Like, and I don't think everybody knows exactly what their very best effort is. I feel like that's
Yeah.
almost a skill that you kind of have to develop in terms of pushing yourself into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a tangent to go down as well. So I would say
Yeah.
like execution and then like intensity or effort.
That's one of the biggest values I see in someone getting into bodybuilding with a sports background is that I
Hmm.
think they kind of have that intensity like internally already built within them, and then all they have to kind of not all they have to focus on, but one of the main things they have to focus on is just like chilling out and nailing your execution, because the kind of way I look at it is like you can have all the intensity in the world if you know whatever, but if you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks and you're never actually using the target muscle, it's like that intensity is kind of just going to trash. But if you can like channel that into like the guys that I listen to, they call like accurate intensity, that's where it comes from. Because like I've had my training, like that's been the only thing, like not the only thing, but one of the only things that I focused on in my first little push phase is like my training. Like I'll send my coach like my top sets or whatever, and then I get all the feedback and I take that shit to heart. Because like a good point he made in a podcast too, my coach, you may know him, Tom Schuster.
Hmm.
Yeah. So a good point he made was like with training and everything, or not with training, but with coaching a client, you may not get a change to your diet for a while. If things are clicking and things are going good, you may not get a change every week. You may not get a change to your cardio or your drugs. You know, your cycle could stay the same for a long time, but you could get like changes and execution cues for your training every single time that you check in. And that's the little bit of like piece of info and piece of value that you can give to a client every single week. Because if someone sends me their training, if I send my training to my coach, there is no way in hell that every single top tip that I did looked spick span perfect. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's like you can have something to pull away from your coach every single week if you send them your training videos, and you just have to get over the fact of videoing yourself, you know, every once in a while. But I think that when it comes to that training thing, I think you're right. I think the execution, if you have some level of intensity and you know you're leaving it all out there, it has to be like accurate intensity. So I do I do like that opinion, but I want to get into a little bit of your prep. So what was the last prep you did? Was it for 25 nats? Is that right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so I went through like your story thing when I was going through your profile, and
Yeah.
that's you looked fucking crazy for that. So give us, if you like, a little bit of an overview of that. How difficult of prep was it? Any thoughts from that prep, like highlights, and what are some tips that you would give someone going into their first big show?
Oh, that's a good one. As far as my
I'm gonna
prep
pull it
went,
up too.
it was the prep was a little like abnormal or unorthodox in a sense. I started probably doing like a decent level of cardio around July actually, but food was still really high. And it was just like a slow, steady process of peeling some fat down. And I would say it was going relatively well. Then I had a couple of disagreements with my coach at the time, and I knew I needed to have a change of pace. And leading into the show, I was just not the most pleased with my off season for a variety of reasons. But at the end of the day, like you can't really make excuses. But I don't feel as if I gave the time that it needed or the intention that the off season truly needed. Like I was still hitting my workouts and getting my meals in, but I personally believe that I could have executed it better. And I also felt that the coach that I had at the time wasn't the best in terms of off-season coaching. I got in shape for my last show with him, but I
Mhm.
don't personally feel as if I made as good enough improvements as I would have liked to in that off-season. So
Got you.
I ended up switching coaches to a gentleman named Tyler Bedson around
Hmm.
I was 7 to 8 weeks out ish. I think 7, maybe even been 6. My mind
Hmm.
out of here. But so we switched around 6 weeks out, and I decided for the first time as well that I was going to compete in classic because I have competed in bodybuilding prior to this last showing. But I feel like there was something that really kind of told me to give it a shot. One, like I feel as if my physique does fit the class relatively well. Like I do have a small waist and a more of a prettier physique as opposed to a
You have
shorter,
amazing
stockier.
shape. Yeah, you have amazing
I
shape.
appreciate.
Yeah.
I was quite nervous, to be honest with you, which I don't typically get. But this was the first time that I was jumping straight into a national show, and I didn't have
Hmm.
like a qualifier or like quote unquote warm up beforehand to get the jitters out a little bit. And I had never competed down at nationals in Texas before. So I was a little bit nervous going into the show, and I ended up getting second call outs. There was 24 guys in the classic physique A class. The weight cap is like 182 and a half, and I ended up weighing in around 173, 174 ish. So I still had a little bit of room to go. And I ended up getting second call outs out of those 24 guys. And a lot of it came down to like the leg size. Like almost every single guy that placed ahead of me had bigger flaring quads, in my opinion. I think I could have maybe gotten a better look, but at the end of the day, if you have a weakness or a glaring weakness that's so apparent that the judges push you off the second call outs, that's on you at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I was disappointed. I hate to say disappointed because at the end, I would say I was disappointed because I didn't. I knew I could have displayed a better physique had I done better in my off season. But as
Hmm.
far as like switching mid prep, I think that was the right call, and I believe that Tyler, my coach, brought me in the very best that we possibly could. And I do like the look. There was just a few aspects of it that I wish I had done better in the off season, so the look would have been better on stage.
Yeah.
That
I got
was
you.
so that's kind of how the show and the prep went, but it also kind of reignited my real love and passion for bodybuilding, getting into a different environment with a different coach and a little bit of a different training style.
Hmm.
So I was very pleased that I finished out the prep. And this typically happens, but I like to consider myself a deep thinker, like I'm a bit of a self-reflective guy, I would like to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope that doesn't sound weird, but I'm typically never disappointed, no matter my placing, like post show, because I've competed a fair bit now at this point in time in my life, and while I haven't gotten the pro card just yet, and I haven't achieved the physique I would like just yet. I still got time to do so. Just to be able to compete at a high level, when I really sit and think about it, I'm always just very grateful for it because there are so many people out there that would like to be able to compete and can't because of financial reasons or perhaps like genetically their shape is just not very good and they're never going to be able to get to the level that they want to get to. I mean, if you've been to a local bodybuilding show, I'm sure you've seen some like Masters 60 plus dude that's just doing it for the
Hmm.
love of the game, man. And like
Yeah.
I feel overall like gratitude and feel blessed that I'm able to compete at a high level and that my body is like healthy and that I'm continuing to improve and able to do so. So I'm rarely ever I'm a competitor. I want to win. I want to bring my best physique at the end of the day and bring a
Hmm.
physique that I'm very proud of. But I'm typically never like disappointed or sad whenever whatever my placing might.
Yeah, that's probably the one of the best messages anyone could pull from this podcast is just being thankful for like this process and whatever it may be. Because like you have some people that'll get on stage and then they'll not get the call they're looking for, then just get all pissy, be all mad at the judges, be all mad at themselves or their coach and blame their coach. And it's like, dude, like take a step back and look at how cool like this opportunity is. Like, let's say you're better, like you're better than your last show. That's all that you should aim for. And just looking past like the physique part of it, just looking at it from like a, I guess like a philosophical point of view or whatever, it's like, dude, this is so cool. Like you're putting yourself in this position, you're like sacrificing all these things for like the betterment of yourself and you're improving. So like why not just be happy with that? That should be all you be happy with. Be competitive and like go into the show and train your balls off like you're gonna win or whatever, but then just have that perspective at the end of the day to be like, am I better than I was last time? Am I getting to do something that I love? Yes, to both of those. That's all you should care about. That's all you should care about. So that's a really good message. I think that so many guys, especially nowadays, should look into thinking like that because I think most people like get on social media, they'll see like the two show pro, and then like that's gonna be me, and then they're gonna just be very very let down because for the majority of us, that is not the case at all. So, what are some something I saw brought up on a podcast is like, or maybe it was brought up on one of these episodes that I did, was like skills that you have obtained through competing. And that's like, I'm talking like the week of the show and like at the show itself. So like backstage or hotel stuff. What are some things that newer competitors should get on stage for? Simply, how do I want to word this? What are some skills that you think you've obtained through just competing itself that new guys need to look to obtain themselves so they can just get good at competing in general, whether it be like backstage, hotel stuff, traveling, or whatever?
I would. I'm gonna get you with one. I think this qualifies, but like time management, I think is huge, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
most of the bodybuilding population does not make their living simply off competing. Like most people have another job that they do like 24 hour or like 5 days a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to get your training in, go to work as well as prep all your meals and get the amount of sleep that you need, like I think
Mm-hmm.
that's paramount because
Mm-hmm.
you can easily wake up one day and not have your meals prepared and you have to go somewhere and you don't get the meals in, right? Like that's a very easy possibility. But if we're
Mm-hmm.
talking more like traveling for like competitions or like the more like ins and outs of competitions,
Yeah, yeah.
I always prefer, if possible, I kind of do like an Airbnb if I'm traveling to a show. I kind of I'm a little bit more of like an introvert. I'm not the biggest like people person, not gonna lie. It's weird that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing this and I say I'm an introvert, but
Not
it's
me
different
too.
because I'm just talking to one person and then everyone
Yeah,
else can watch it.
yeah.
But I like an Airbnb because I feel like it like settles me down if I'm like a little bit removed from all the competitors walking around. I might
Mm-hmm.
get like a little bit nervous when I actually get to the show just because I don't know. I've never been this is silly, but I've never been like the biggest guy there. And sometimes when I see the super heavyweights like walking around, I'm like, I'm not big enough. I don't know what I'm doing. But I
Mm-hmm.
that's neither here nor there. I do like the Airbnb because it gives you a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom, and it does give you the option to have a kitchen. But I've honestly found that there are a lot of hotels that you could probably find within like that venue distance that like likely have kitchens as well nowadays. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's becoming like a more popular thing as health
Mm-hmm.
and fitness honestly becomes a more popular thing.
Right.
Then when it comes to like actually competing at a show and a tip for I would say always over prepare, especially if you're going to a national level show. Like bring an extra meal or bring a little bit extra fluids or whatever you might need and make sure you're comfortable because there have been multiple times where I've competed like at Pittsburgh for North Americans, which I love that show and I love that venue. It's super easy to get to from where I'm at, but we will be like told to get glazed and get ready to go and you'll get glazed and you'll be standing there with your glaze on for an hour backstage. Like,
Yeah.
no way. If you're at a local show it's a little bit more like hustle up, but if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to like a more national show, like be prepared to just sit around and be prepared to get there just to sit around and wait for the most part because it's a
Yeah, I
long day.
got you. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of guys overlook whenever maybe they think that I just need more time, I need more size, because that's kind of the perspective that I'm, or the frame of mind I put myself in, or I've been thinking in for a little bit, is like I just need time, so I want to take quite a bit of time off the stage and maybe just have some like really hard diets here in the next couple of years, and like have a rebound effect out of that, and just continue to put size on because I'm 6 foot tall. My last show I was like 144 pounds on stage. Like I was like
Really,
emaciated. Yeah, I was like dead. So I just need size just to fill out my frame. But I also have the perspective of like I didn't need to get good at like the week itself of competing and actually being on stage in and of itself. You know, whether it be like backstage, not being so like focused on the other competitors and what they're doing, or like the stress management of just relaxing, just kicking your feet up and chilling instead of just walking around and pacing back and forth. And I think that's something guys and myself as well as is overlooked. It's like you can be good at bodybuilding, and like maybe you get into bodybuilding and you love the training, you love the diet or whatever, and you do it for 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, but you never compete. And then you get to the week of the show and you do all the ins and outs of compete, and you're like, dude, this sucks. I hate this. You've just wasted your 3 or 4 years, whatever. Which I'm thankful that my first show went like really bad, but I actually liked competing. So I was like, oh, actually, this is something I'm like half naked up here. I'm posing in front of random people, but I actually love this. I'm like, this is actually pretty interesting. So you have to take that into consideration. You can love the training, you can love the diet, but if you get to the show and it's like just a waste of your time, you may just want to be like a lifestyle bodybuilder or whatever, which is nothing wrong with that. But just be sure that you get at least compete once early on, so like if this process is even something you want to get into. But speaking of processes and whatnot, you have your own podcast as well. So tell me a little bit about that, and have you enjoyed having that, and what are some things that you've like benefits or downsides of it that you've seen?
so I'll preface it is Isaiah Campbell's podcast, but I am his
Yeah.
co-host. I
Yeah.
got to credit him because I just show up. He edits all the videos and does all the
Okay.
back end stuff and the posting. That's
Got
him.
you.
So I got to shout out Isaiah. He
Yeah.
Without him, the podcast wouldn't be a thing. Actually, he
Mm.
approached me. I want to say back in like January or February, and was like at the gym because we both train at the same gym. And he asked me if I wanted to do a podcast. And I thought he meant one episode. And I was like, yeah, of course, man, I'm down for that. And we get to the actual day of the podcast, and and he's like, no, this is going to be like a regular every week thing. And I was like, well, that's cool. Like, let's do it. Right on.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. That was the first podcast I'd ever done, and I've had a couple like a bodybuilding buddies that I've always talked about, like, man, we should do a podcast, like this and that, and there was just no action behind it. So for Isaiah to come along and be like, yeah, I'll do all that, and I was like, yeah, by all means, I'll just show up and be a part of it. But it actually has been a lot of fun. I enjoy getting to speak about bodybuilding. I feel as if I have a fair bit of experience within the sport just for doing it for so long and having coached for a while as well. I know I'm not the smartest man in every single room, but I do feel as if I have a fair bit of knowledge and at least experience that I can share when it comes to bodybuilding. And I really enjoy when we have guests on, or when we do have a cast of like, sometimes we'll have like 4 to 5 guys on that's like semi regular, that we're all kind of like buddies from the Indianapolis area that compete. And I really enjoy being able to like sometimes talk to them or our guests and ask a little bit more of like the deeper meaning questions of like, what does bodybuilding mean to you, or how has it changed your life? And
Mhm.
it's been fun. Like, it's a different type of content that I've never really gotten into before, but I'm very grateful that Isaiah asked me to be a part of it. And it's been a really fun time. We're gonna record an episode tomorrow, I believe, actually. So it's been cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I think podcasting is like the best form of like social media or content or whatever, because you're able to actually like learn someone's personality and their actual thinking behind whatever they are doing for their bodybuilding, whether it be how they train, how they diet, how they design cycles or whatever. You're not really able to gain all that information through a 30-second reel, but when you actually have like the mental capacity to sit down and listen to a podcast, you're able to like actually take away who that person is and like their thinking behind everything. And that's I love like doing this is like if I know that like business, like having like trying to run like a or build like your own brand or whatever, you have to do social media like the Instagram, the TikTok. But dude, if I didn't have to, I would be such a like a happier person, or not a happier person, but just I would enjoy it a lot more if I didn't have to, because doing the long form stuff like that YouTube video I shot earlier at the gym and the podcast that I do, they're a lot more like natural. They just flow a lot more naturally. And doing all like the short skits and the short reels on Instagram and TikTok, it all seems very just like gimmicky. But then podcasts are a lot better. I listened to a couple of y'all's podcasts. It's really good. I like the vibe that you guys have going down. I think a lot more people are like, podcasting has just kind of been like on an upward trend for, I guess,
Mhm.
since like 2020 when everything shut down. And I think that that's the, if you're like someone looking to get more information on what you should do, like maybe you don't have a coach and you're just wanting to learn bodybuilding, you're just getting new, you're getting into this and you're new, I don't think you need to like spend your time on like reels and TikToks and Twitter videos. Go find like some good podcasts, or go find some old podcasts, because I think some of the older bodybuilding podcasts are very, very, very valuable and actually have like good information, you know. But podcasts are fun, dude. It's I don't know. I like got the idea from mine sparked up, you know, about 6 months ago, and then you know you just kind of like, some people have asked me like how been able to get like different guests on. It's like, bro, every guest, every person that you talk to is just a person. Like, just go ask them, and that's how you could do. That's how you can approach any kind of, you know, guest for a podcast. But getting back to like bodybuilding and stuff like that, what were your thoughts on Tampa?
I thought Nick rightfully deserved to win. I'm
Yeah,
a Nick fan personally,
me
which
too.
like a little bit of a self brag. Nick does follow me on Instagram. Sometimes watches my
Shit.
stories. Kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. That is cool.
Like that's a humble brag. I think it's dope. But
Yeah.
I think Nick rightfully deserved to win, and I thought Hollingshead looked pretty solid. I feel like he looked better the last showing just by like a smidge, but I thought he
Mm-hmm.
looked great. And then Charles Griffin looked really solid too, man. I can't
Mm-hmm.
say I can appreciate Joe Palacio's physique. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I can say like I'm a huge fan of it. Like I don't think it's the nicest looking physique in my opinion.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I thought all the placings were pretty accurate. I think everyone that got placed where they did, it made sense. But now we have Atlanta, which is going to be another big show, and someone I'm pretty excited to see in this is well, speaking of someone else as well as Lewis. I'm excited to see Lewis Breed, but then also Regan as well. So that's gonna be a really good show to see as well. This is the first year that Atlanta is happening, correct? Am I mistaken in that? For like
I
for the
believe
Open.
yeah, I believe it's the first year that they're having the Open. I'm not 100% positive, so don't quote me on that, but I'm excited to
Okay.
see that as well. I'm excited to see Regan on stage.
Yeah, I really want to see Regan like fulfill the potential that they said he's had for so long. You know what I mean? Like I would like to see him really land it. Someone I'm really been happy to see do well is James though, because I love James as like a person, just like who he is. Like some of the videos I've seen, like some of the podcasts he's been on, and some of his own videos, he's very like, he's like a philosophical thinker. He's like a big teddy bear, it seems like, and he's very sweet. And I think that just as a person, he's cool, and that's why I wanted to see him do well. So seeing him finally find his rhythm with Zach, his new coach, has been really making me happy to see. So he looks
Yeah,
really easy.
I've followed James for quite some time because he was part of the Trained by JP website for a while too. And
Yeah, yeah.
dude, he started when he was like a teenager as well. And I agree with you, like he is quite like a philosophical thinker. And I do
Mm-hmm.
sometimes wonder, like after a certain amount of time of competing and doing this, I feel like you do start asking yourself those deeper questions just quite naturally of like, why am I continuing to compete? Why am I continuing to bodybuild? For him, like it has become part of his career. So like it is a bit like more simpler in that sense of like, dude, this is part of how I make my living.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that like the competitors that have competed for a while, they do seem to speak almost like a little more philosophically.
Mm-hmm. Especially for him because he just had his kid, so I know that he's probably also has that perspective because he has a newfound motivation. Him and Joe just had their first kid, so I bet that sparked up a whole new level of motivation. And he was already like a deep thinker as it was, so if he just had his kid too, I know he's spoken on that before. I bet that definitely fires him up. But I don't know. I was listening to Beatty's podcast earlier, and they're making their picks, and they all think that Regan's gonna win. And I was like, huh. I think that's not like bold to say, but I was kind of thinking they're going to say Joe or maybe James to win because I think what who is it? AJ Kelly was saying that James has looked good, but he's not like the most consistent look. He doesn't look good consistently. So he's thinking that like his third show he's gonna fall off. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really seen like Regan. The thing with Regan is he's super like I'm not gonna call him like an Instagram bodybuilder, but he does know
Yeah, I know what you mean.
he does know his angles and he does know his lighting. But I don't know. Like this is pretty. I can tell. I mean, you can kind of tell there's some editing on this. Like I don't know if I'm just blind or if I'm just seeing shit, but I can tell like there's a little bit of sharpening done or something. But this conditioning is crazy, and this back is this is crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't post like traditional just updates, right? Like you see a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
bodybuilders do.
yeah, like this is like edited to the gills.
Yeah, I would have. I always appreciate when the competitor keeps it real and just like posts front, side, back, and you know what they're looking like, right?
Yeah, like your story this morning, this is like normal check-ins, no lighting, no nothing. It's just like this is what I look like. And I think that I wish bodybuilders did that more often. Like I get that like you need to like some people want to edit their pictures to maybe get more clicks or get more views, but when it comes to like if you're a competitive bodybuilder, it's like just give the raw check-ins, give the no edits, give like what you look like every time you like what you send to your coach and like nothing else. And I think that would give such a better like depiction of what they actually look like. But they're probably never going to do that. So who do you think's going to take Atlanta, or who do you have in your like top three?
I would
Who's
probably give it to Regan, James, and Joe is probably going to be my top three.
yeah.
And I honestly, I could absolutely see Regan winning it. It really kind of depends. Like, I need to see them kind of standing next to each other, right, to give you a
Mm-hmm.
good answer. Because once again, like we haven't seen Regan compete for a little bit, and we haven't seen like a true good update from him just yet. So
Right.
because I feel like Regan can be inconsistent sometimes as well, in my opinion. So it's kind
Yeah.
of a bit of a crapshoot on that one. But I
Yeah.
believe that like a James, Joe, and Regan call out would probably compare relatively well to each other. I believe.
Yeah. They're all Joe's more compact. It's like Joe is the biggest muscularly wise, but like a little bit bigger as in like frame wise, like taller. But he's a little. I would say he has like more like shape. He's more shapely. He's more aesthetic. And then we also have Charles Griffin. Who else we have? I'm excited to see Lewis Breed. I like his physique too. He's a big fella. We got Patrick Moore, Buddhism. Buddhism's just humongous. He doesn't have like the prettiest shape, but he is just a big dude.
He
So yeah, I can
certainly
see
is.
that being top three for sure. And then after that, it's just Texas and Austria, correct? Yeah, yeah, Texas and Austria for the Olympia. Those are the last Olympian qualifying shows.
Yeah, it's coming down to the wire, man. We're not too far out.
That's crazy. These last few shows have been awesome. I think that I can't really remember like the earlier shows for the year, but I think that this Tampa show was one of the best shows of the year, if not one of the best.
I would agree with that one.
Yeah,
It was a very good showing by a lot of people. It was very fun to watch,
yeah,
or at least watch the highlights of.
yeah, for sure. So we're coming up on like almost that hour point, but I do want to. We're both pretty philosophical talkers, so these last two questions will probably take up like the remaining hour. But I always end the podcast off with these two questions. Or it was just one question, but I switched it to two. So first one is, what drives you the most in your day to day process?
You know, I thought about that question a lot, and I feel like a philosophical answer doing this, but like I don't know if I have a true right answer for it, to be honest, because there's so many reasons that kind of drive me in the daily process of bodybuilding. And if I honestly think back on it, there were certainly times where like I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even a question or an option for me to like not eat all my meals or not get my training in. It was, this is the path that I've chosen and I'm going to see it through its fullest. And it certainly gives me purpose and it makes me happy. And that kind of drives me as well. I think it's important to live a life with some type of passion, or else I feel like it would just be horribly mundane if you didn't. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know people that just get up and go to a job that they don't like, come home and have like nothing to do, or like they play video games and go to bed or something along those lines, like, and that's all they do, and that sounds like a relatively mundane, unhappy existence. So I
Mm-hmm.
find that like a passion in your life, something that you can really devote your entire being to, I think there's value in that, and using it as a vessel just to become a man like that I'm proud of to an extent, or becoming the man that I would once hope to be. Because there's a lot of transferable skills in bodybuilding, whether it's like time management, like I spoke of earlier, or discipline, or learning the ability to do hard things or do things that you may not want to do at the time. Like an easy example is like you're dead tired from a full day, and like you have to prep all your meals for tomorrow, and all you want to do is go to bed. Like you still have to prep those meals. Like it's not a question of, oh, like, do I really want to do that? It's you just do it. You don't think of the option of not doing it. So I think the purpose that it kind of provides, and the vessel it provides as well to sort of become the man that I would like to be, I think that is the main drivers, I suppose, for why I continue to compete and why I continue to bodybuild. It obviously still like makes me very happy, and I enjoy it, and I have fun doing it. I say that a lot. I'll say like, as long as you're having fun, right? And like that's kind of a silly, like childish answer to an extent, but if man, there's a lot easier things you could be doing besides bodybuilding. So if you're not enjoying the overall process, or you're not having some type of fun doing it, what are you doing it for, man? Right? Like
Yeah,
shit. Like it's not
I
the
love
easiest
that.
thing in the world to do.
Yeah, I love that. If you're like spending all this time and if you're taking it seriously, taking like, years off your life, and then at the end of the day, you're not having fun, you're not enjoying it. It's like, what are we even doing? But yeah, I love that answer. Just like how you said, like, there, I could give an answer, but at the same time, you're just like, this is what I do. It's who I am. And I think that's when you're able to have that kind of mentality and carry that for yourself in bodybuilding, that leads to like good results and good success, in my opinion, and just more fulfillment, because you're like, this is just who I am. Like, I'm just being me. And whenever like you're able to just be yourself, that's when you have like resonance. Like that's where you are your best, when you can just be who you are at the core. So I really like that answer. That's an awesome one. And then my final one is, whenever your time is up, how do you want to be remembered as a person and as a bodybuilder?
An overall answer, because I had to think about this one too. And I think I would really like to be remembered. And this is, it sounds basic at the start, but I can dive into it. Is I'd like to be remembered as a good man. Like I can think of a lot of things I would like to be thought of as good. Like I would like to be a good son, a good brother, a good friend, a good business partner, a good trainer, a good coach, a good bodybuilder, all of these things. But like at the end of the day, when someone is talking, and like I use this very carefully, because like when someone is talking about like Matt Gozdecki, and they can just be like, "Oh, you know Matt Gozdecki, good man," and like enough said, right? Like you can trust him. He's a man of integrity. He keeps his word. He's a hard worker. All of these things, I think, encompassing down to like being a good man, and also just the fact that I'm still only 29 years old. I don't know what the rest of life has in store for me. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
a good father at some point in time, right? Or like being a good uncle, or being a good husband, whatever life does have in store for me. Like I use that umbrella term of a good man, just because I feel like that kind of covers a lot of different a lot of different like areas of where life could take you.
Yeah.
As far as a bodybuilder, I would like to be known, I think, as he was the best bodybuilder he possibly could be. And I don't mean that in like I'm Mr. Olympia, or I'm getting on the pro stage and winning pro shows. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I train in order to be able to do that one day, but more so he lived that bodybuilding lifestyle as close as he possibly could have. Like he was a bodybuilder's bodybuilder in that sense. Like he
Yeah.
gave his all in his training. He never missed meals when he could. He was always on point with his recovery. His posing was immaculate. Like he was as knowledgeable as he was possibly could be within the bodybuilding sphere and as a coach. So that would be what I would hope to be remembered for, as just a person or a human being, and as a bodybuilder, I believe as well.
I like those answers. I think I'm guessing that's why you're like a Nick Walker fan, is he's like a bodybuilder as well. Yeah,
Yeah, dude. If I
that's
could
why.
watch movies with my mom and just like bodybuild all day, like I'm here for it,
Dude,
dude.
yeah, right, yeah. That's I also like your answer on just being a good man, because it encompasses just everything. Like, I just want to be a good guy, and that just has so much spillover to everything. And your answer to the bodybuilding one too is I like that answer. Is he was just on it all the time. And I think that, alluding kind of back to what you said previously, is like, this is just who I am. I think when you're able to have that like synergy of, this is just who I am, that is when you're able to like execute at such a high level, year round, because you're just like, this isn't a challenge for me. This is just who I am. You're not saying, I'm not saying that having that mindset in like any cocky way or anything. You're just like, this is just who I am. This is what makes me happy, and this is what I get fulfillment out of. So I'm able to like execute at such a high level. And I think I'm pretty good at like reading people. And I think that you're a pretty good guy. So I think that you're fulfilling that first. I think you're fulfilling that first want for how you want to be remembered as like a good guy. So I think you're doing well, man. But Matt, I really appreciate you taking the time today, man, to come on that podcast. It was good getting to chat with you. It's been good getting to connect with you on Instagram as well. Where can people find you at?
So you can find me, and I have to always double check this because I got my Instagram. This is the second Instagram I've had to make in my life, but it's Goz_Matt on
Gotcha.
Instagram. That's my that's the Instagram. I typically just use Instagram. I mean, you can find me at Matt Gozdecki on Facebook too, but I
Mm-hmm.
typically post through Instagram. And I have, you can always like DM me if you would like, or I do have like an actual coaching sheet available in like my little bio. So if you actually are
Mm-hmm.
interested in coaching, that's cool as well. You know,
Awesome.
so that's where I mostly post. But I also
Gotcha.
wanted to say thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate it. I hope the
Mm-hmm.
audience, at least at the very least, finds the podcast entertaining.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. I'll have the links to your Instagram and everything out in the description. But I appreciate you taking the time today, man. And another episode of the Intentional Iron Podcast is wrapped up. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Sure.